Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hi, and welcome to episode number 103 of the Grow Your Biz Show. I'm your host, Paul Madsen, and I'm also the founder of GrowMedia.com. Hey, Lisa, GrowMedia.com helps businesses to grow by telling their unique story on television and on social media video. How about that?
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Hey, well, yeah, this is Lisa Pelto. She is the owner, founder, president of Concierge Marketing. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Well, awesome. Lisa, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
You came last minute notice. We're trying to work our schedules out, and I'm just so pleased that it worked out because this time of year, you have a lot to talk about.
I really do.
Yes. And you also had a big anniversary recently. Tell us about that.
We just turned 15 years old. We started in 2004, working with artists and authors and musicians way back then. And then about a year later, we went just straight to authors, and we've been working with them ever since. 2004,
boy, that was a couple of presidents ago and all
yes.
that. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, my format for my show, as you know, is we just jump in with some questions. So I'm going to ask you, what business are you in?
I am in the business of helping people realize their dream of sharing their story. I like to look at it as I work with people who have changed the world, want to change the world, or have created their own world in some way, and they want to share it with people.
Wow, change the world.
Yeah.
Want
to change the world, want to change the world, or created their own.
I think I'm in the last category.
Yeah.
I create my own world. Well, I have self-published 4 books, and I know how big a chore it is, so I'm so glad people like you are out there to help people, because you've helped hundreds and hundreds of people to do this, right?
Yes.
Well, tell me, what's the process? When a person says, I have an idea for a book, what happens then?
Well, sometimes they do come with not one word written, and sometimes they come and they have a finished manuscript, and occasionally they come and they have a garage full of books, unfortunately. So we like to have them come when they have gotten into their manuscript, usually before they've finished it, so we can help them create a product that has a market, and then find the market, and if the product has some sort of a feature that will give it a tiny niche in the market, it's much better. So we help them define that first, and then finish and polish their manuscript, and then package it and get it to market.
There's a lot of details, aren't there?
Yes.
Well, I want to back up just a little bit. You want to help people get their message out there, get their message to the world.
Yes.
Today, there's, of course, this thing called the internet. You've heard of it, maybe?
I think
it's
so.
Some vague thing idea. And the bottom line on that is there's so much information out there. Why would I ever want to publish a book?
Well, there's still people reading. There's still people that need to share their story. It helps you establish yourself as an expert in whatever field you're in if you're doing a nonfiction book. There's still a lot of fiction readers too. Yeah. There's just a lot of readers that people don't think that there's. People think there's no one reading, but there really are readers out there. And there are people that need information, and they don't just want to go to the internet. And actually, the people that are wanting the printed books are younger than we thought they would be. The
really?
teen to 20-year-olds want a printed book.
Sure.
They went through the electronic
they grew up there,
yeah, but they still want to hold and smell a
Maybe
book.
these are the same people who are buying vinyl albums.
Absolutely they are,
because that, of course, went away, and now I hear it's coming back.
Yeah.
So I have an old LP player in my basement I didn't get rid of. I don't know why.
Rotary phone, too?
Yeah. One like this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you see all sorts of stories. You've got hundreds and hundreds of clients.
Yes.
Your service is to get that message out there in the form of a book. You've got hundreds of clients. What stories have you heard people say as far as why they want to publish a book?
Everybody has a different definition of success. And that's really important for me to help them establish initially.
Okay.
You know, whether they're, not everybody comes in there and says, I want to be a billionaire and publish this one book and go out and make.
Yeah, one book and 100,000 million copies sold.
Right. Usually if I ask people, if you look back in 5 years and you say, that was successful, that was a successful venture, what will that look like?
What does that mean? That's a good question. What will that look like?
Yeah, the top 5 answers are not money.
Right, right.
That's way down
What
there.
are the most of them?
They have a lifelong dream of sharing, of writing a book and sharing their story. They think they can help people. They want to see their book on a bookstore shelf,
Right.
which I tell them just sneak in, put it on a bookstore shelf, take a picture and leave.
Oh, that's good.
Because bookstores aren't right for everyone. I mean, there's 150 million books in print and about 35,000 spots in a bookstore for.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So that's a big shout out to the self-publishing world, isn't it?
Yeah, because reaching your audience is the key. A bookstore is not your audience.
Say that again. There's how many published and how many slots in a bookstore?
150 million books in print
In print.
and about 35,000 in a pretty large bookstore.
Wow, that's
Not good
and
odds.
plus, yeah, that's not good odds at all.
But
It's
I explain to people.
about like getting hit by lightning or
Right.
something.
Bookstore, I explain to my clients that bookstores are not your audience, although a lot of people think, I just want to have my book in a bookstore.
Yeah.
That's not your audience. The bookstore wants the books at the cash register, walking out the door in a bag.
Right, yeah.
And their money in their cash register.
Right,
they're,
right.
they're in the business to sell books.
Right.
So a lot of times, if you get into a bookstore, it's really important to send your clients to the bookstore to purchase the books.
Well, I would think with the internet today that most everybody has some kind of social media presence or internet web page or something like that. That I would think that seeing your book on that would be almost as good, especially you go into some of these bookstores and the books are way up there in the corner and out of reach and dusty. I mean, how are you ever going to sell anything like that?
Yeah,
So
Although the independent bookstores are coming back and they're very supportive of
Oh,
local
yeah, yeah.
authors and they do a lot of really good work. The big bookstores are really concentrated on the New York published books and things like that.
Right.
But the local bookstores are very supportive and they're coming back.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, we've got a couple that have been around forever in town here, of course.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, I guess, about that whole thing. You said New York City publisher versus Paul Madsen publisher. What are the difference between getting published by a major publisher and the odds, again, the lightning odds of that, and versus me doing all my own self-publishing or doing it with and through you?
Yeah, well, the odds are stacked against you in the publishing world. I mean, the slush pile is what they call it in New York. They get about 20,000 books a week or something like that proposed to them. They have gatekeepers that look through and toss things aside if they
Usually
don't fit.
college interns, probably.
Yeah, what they're exactly looking for their catalog of books and the things they want to publish in that coming year or the coming couple of years. What will fill out their front list. So they're very focused. Their job is to make money at the publishing house.
Right.
So they're making money off of your intellectual property if they do it. In the independent publishing world, you control.
I'm going to
all of
interrupt
it.
you right there. Don't big publishing houses, and I don't know that much about it, but typically aren't they taking on 100 books, thinking that one or two of them are going to be hits?
There's
Something like that.
blockbusters, and there's bestsellers, and then there's the basic front list.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell that many books to be considered a success.
Okay.
In nonfiction, it's very typical for a New York published book to sell about 2,000 to 2,500 books, and they're happy with that.
Did you say 2,000, 2,500?
Yeah,
Wow, okay.
So that's
not a big moneymaker when you start talking about the author
right.
gets a very small percentage of that money.
Yeah, very small in the big traditional royalty type
It's
publishing.
kind of about ego more than it is about money.
Yeah, so a lot of people call it legitimate publishing,
Okay,
but I look at legitimate publishing as anything that gets it to the audience that it was intended for.
Well, I love that. I love that, exactly. And now is a good time, I think, to bring up the second question. I mean, there are a lot of publishing services, a lot of angles and opportunities out there as far as me getting my message out there. Why are you in this business, Lisa? This is the point where people say I'm crazy. That's
Yeah.
why. Why are you in this business?
Yeah, I lost my mind back in
exactly,
2004.
Yeah, it hasn't come back. And not only why are you in it, but what makes you different?
Mm-hmm. I got into the publishing business. I started in about 1980 with my first few books with an architect firm. Then I went to an ad agency and did some publishing there.
Okay.
And then I went to a nonprofit publishing unit and helped them grow their unit. And for a couple of years, I got out of it, and I really missed the passion of it, of an author.
Right.
However they're published, they are always passionate about what they have written, what they've done.
Right.
They're experts, or they just have had this story rolling around in their head for years.
Okay.
And I just love that about authors. It's something I don't write books, I publish books, and I'm in marketing.
Yeah.
And publishing is a little microcosm of marketing. If you have ever read a Philip Kotler book about marketing, it's like the most beautiful little ecosystem in publishing.
Okay.
But I saw a place where it was not being served, with people that were getting into the self-publishing market and they didn't know what to do, or they would make a lot of mistakes along the way, forget things, and then you wouldn't be able to do them later, and that kind of thing. And I wanted to help people fill that need, where they don't want to be publishing experts. They want to be experts in the thing they're an expert in.
Right, exactly, yeah. They wrote a book or want to write a book for a reason. I call it the subject matter expertise.
Yeah.
And it's like small business. Found a small business based on your area of expertise. You're not going to succeed if you focus on all the things you're not good at.
Right.
When with publishing and self-publishing especially, I mean, how many different minefields are there to get through?
A lot, and there's more and more. When I first started in 2004, there were a handful, maybe 5 companies doing what I'm doing.
Really?
Yeah, and now there's hundreds of people. There are New York agents they don't have any business in New York, so they're getting into this business, but they really don't know the struggles of an independent author as much as what we would know, because we've been in it for so long.
Right.
They don't realize that you don't just go and sit next to the New York Times and talk about your book when you're an independent publisher, what you used to do when you're traditionally published. So it is a challenge competing against people that have these big names, but they really don't serve the audience like we do.
Right. Well, and going to the next extension of that comment, I mean, isn't that what makes you different? Is that you kind of set them up, not kind of, you help your authors to do what?
We help them set up their publishing company, which is, there's a lot of little things just 100 tasks to do to get it set up. Do you have a sales tax permit? Do you have an EIN? Do you have a business entity of some sort where you can take payments and then pay the tax people when they come? We set it up as an operational thing. How are you going to get inventory? How are you going to fund inventory? Where are you going to store inventory?
Wow.
Books don't like moisture or smells. You don't stick them in the garage,
right?
Because they're going to soak everything up.
Yep. All that lawnmower, gasoline.
So
well, that is clearly what makes you different. That's why you're a darling for the Grow Your Biz show, because you set up, I mean, you've set up hundreds of authors in their books, but literally you've set up hundreds of small businesses, right?
Yes. Yeah,
well, that's the Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Administration. They gotta love you,
right?
State of Nebraska. Think of all those tax IDs numbers and revenue and all that.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly a difference. That you've set up more small companies than anybody I know.
I guess I have.
Well, that's a real hats off thing. I think that's awesome, and like I said, a darling of the show, because you have lots of stories about. I mean, some people already have a business entity and they just slide the book thing into that. Tell us about a time when someone. I mean, let's pretend I have a message to get out there, and maybe even some words on a word processor. Tell us about a time when you took somebody at that level and brought them into their own business, and you said passion, and the passion they exhibited with and to you through that process.
Yeah, we have a couple of guys that they're experts in healthcare. They have helped companies put together healthcare programs for their employees and for their executive suite. So it's Terry Howell and Aaron Faust, and they work at different companies, but they have joined their philosophies together into a way to, a method of changing the healthcare system that will help serve the health of people rather than the sickness of people.
Okay, a little proactive.
Yeah, their book is Healthcare is Killing Us. And their business now is just going in and helping companies and organizations design systems to help take care of their employees and their staff. And just fantastic business.
Yeah.
But their book is just an ancillary product to their speaking and their consulting
It's
business.
a big business card.
Huge, yeah.
I mean, obviously people can read it and benefit from that, but I've seen that just on this show where people have a book. I mean, and didn't you help Jeff?
Jeff Beals.
Beals out way back when?
Yeah,
yeah,
way back
and
when,
JP was on the show also.
Yeah.
You helped him out.
Yeah.
His last name?
JP Hansen.
Hansen. Okay,
Yeah.
I forget that.
His book is The Bliss List.
The Bliss List, yes, and he was on the
actually-
show way back when, and so more people you help set up businesses or augment their businesses by having a book.
Yeah, JP has a really interesting story. He did The Bliss List. He had submitted it to a lot of larger publishers in New York and failed to receive an agent at that time. And so he self-published, and we set up an independent publishing unit for him, published it very successfully, won a bunch of national awards for it, and then someone dared him to write a novel.
Yeah, he told us that, yeah.
So he wrote this novel and put the Bliss List in the character's life.
Oh, funny.
So then all of a sudden, and that one got to be #1 on Amazon.
Wow.
The paid one.
Yeah.
Not the free one. And then the agents came calling to him, and he did get a book deal for the Bliss List. They didn't change a thing.
Really?
The book was about 4 or 5 years old at that time. They paid him, and
I'm sorry.
they paid him a royalty, and the book came back out.
Oh, that's great. Great success story.
Yeah.
All because of you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a great product.
Yeah, well, you
too,
know,
and
but
I just helped
them,
polish it.
You help people get their message out there, and that's phenomenal. The whole idea, I just can't get over the idea of you setting up all these businesses. Well, tell us before we talk about some of the typical authors that you have some samples here for. Tell us about your background. You did a little bit. You said nonprofit agency, advertising agency, architecture firm. I mean, how did you stumble into concierge marketing? It's a long stumble, I know.
Yeah, it found me.
It found
I tried
you.
to escape.
I love that. That's a great answer. It found me. Okay.
Yeah, again, it's the passion of the author. I was surrounded by people especially when I was at Boys Town Press and doing their books. I was surrounded by authors from all over the country in an organization that I was part of and part of the faculty of. And I heard people's stories, and I realized that every author is very passionate about whatever it is that they're writing about. And I just love that. It's like they just have to share their story.
Right.
And however they do it is, what we help them find which way they're going to reach their audience in the most efficient manner.
Well,
it's fun.
and well, that's terrific. So it found you. There's the rest of the story. There is.
Yeah, I mean, I decided when we started the business in 2004, concierge marketing. The whole idea was of a concierge to get people into places.
Well, tell people what a concierge is in case they don't know.
At a hotel, it's to get people reservations or to get show tickets or whatever. And our thought was, my husband and I started the business, to get people into places they couldn't get themselves.
Ah.
So that's where the name
great,
came from. And
Yeah.
on our 15th year, we just procured the trade name Concierge Publishing Services, which I've been trying to get since 2007, which the state told me it was too close to another business called Concierge Marketing, which I was like, that's me.
That's you, yes.
I'm okay with it.
But now, I wanted to speak to that. That's one of my notes is marketing. I mean, so many authors. I say, I've got this great, unique message. I just want to share it with the world, and I'm so great about my story that, well, if I could just get it into a book, then the world will beat a path to my book and beat a path to me. True, false?
A lot of people think that the minute your pen hits the paper, the line starts forming at the door. It doesn't really work that way. It's the hard work comes after the book comes out, and you need to start building an audience, talking about the book, sharing your ideas. And I find that once people stop selling the physical book and start selling the ideas and the concepts in the book, they have a much greater level of success.
Right.
Because people want information. They want to consume something that will help them with something,
Right.
or either entertain, inform, or educate them in some way.
Right,
And we
right.
just have to decide which one we're trying to do.
Right, and on that marketing thing, I have a quote. I've done 4 books. Laid Off in Loving It was done in 2001, self-published.
Yep.
Real quick, I used to, how far things have come since then. I found a small publisher who had actually published 25 copies of a book, paid him, sent the box to my house. I would send three whole copies physically to Amazon, and they would, when they sold them, they would say, "Oh, we'd want 3 more."
Yeah.
I'd sold dozens of books that way.
Yeah. That's
So
funny.
the print on demand is really a godsend compared to standing in line in the post office.
Yeah.
Anyway, I interrupt myself. Laid Off and Loving It for 2010, and then a very somewhat entertaining but convoluted novel, Uncle Juan's Cabin. At any rate, the point I'm trying to say is when I'm getting those out to market, I'm studying, who do I study? Well, Mark Victor Hansen. They've only sold 500 million versions of the Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
Audio, video, mostly books, etc. So I listened to their series about how to build a speaking and writing empire. In that, they put it very succinctly. They said, and you probably know this quote, a book stops selling when the author does. A book stops selling when the author does. So if you're not out there hyping it, well, you reminds me of when the mob ran Vegas. Tell us about that one.
Back in 2005.
Early on for you.
Yes. So we started working with the author, and it had already been printed, and the first book went out to Chip Show, which is like a souvenir show out in Las Vegas, and they sold out of those. And I just happened to meet the editor, Sandy Wendell, at an event that I was doing. My husband and I owned the Nebraska Sleep Fair at the time, and we were doing a press conference for the new white paper that was released by the National Sleep Foundation.
Sleep?
Sleep.
Sleep, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were talking about weight loss and sleep or something.
Sure.
And anyway, I was doing a press conference at the sleep store at Oakview Mall,
Okay.
and the Pope died that day. So no one was there,
Oh,
no
wow.
press was there, but
Wow.
Sandy was there, and we got
Okay.
to talking and about publishing and started our relationship there.
Yeah.
And
And what's his name again? The author of When the Mob Ran.
that's Steve Fisher. So anyway, she was the editor of that
Okay,
book.
yeah, right.
And needed some help with getting it distributed
Get to
and
the
putting
market,
it out to the marketplace. So I put together a distribution plan and got them a wholesaler and got
Okay,
it into
sure.
Barnes and Noble and
All
some of
these-
the other
yeah. Well,
local stores. Yeah.
the interesting part of the story to me is I mean, you did all your back office nuts and bolts magic.
Yep.
But Steve is the consummate promoter.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh, yeah.
People who write a book and have heard now definitively from you and I that a book doesn't sell when they stop selling, or it doesn't, you know what I mean. But tell us about some of the things
Oh, my
Steve
gosh.
did to publicize himself and his book.
We did some crazy things. So we did a thing at the hotels in Las Vegas where we put it into the honor bars.
Okay.
There,
Oh,
so
yeah,
if somebody
okay.
cracked a book, they would own it then.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
We did. Steve would fill his car full of boxes of donuts.
Well, and tell us about the car.
He had a Cadillac, and we put fake bullet holes.
Fake bullet holes.
Over it. And when he did a book signing at
And
a
just
bar,
in case they missed it, it's called The Mob, When the Mob
When the
Ran
Mob
Vegas. So
Ran
it's a
Vegas.
mafia-related book, yeah.
Yes.
Hence the bullet holes.
Yes.
Yeah. Filled his car with donuts.
So with dozens and dozens and dozens of donuts, and then he would go into these casinos and take 24 donuts and talk to the marketing person or the manager at the bookstore, the gift shop, and get them to take the book. And he was a machine
Yeah,
for marketing,
wow.
and still is.
Yeah, wow, really?
Yeah, he got into all the catalogs for memorabilia and stuff like that, and
Okay, wow.
and did a great job on that. And with the bullet holes on the cars, like when we went to a Barnes and Noble in Las Vegas, he would park up like halfway on the curb.
Okay.
Like
oh, funny. Like he's a rabbit of anchor.
Right in front of it, and he had these fake bullet holes all over the car and magnets and things
funny.
like that.
Yeah,
So
no,
we had a lot of fun.
I mean, I've been to several events where he's dressed in the mafia get-up
Yes,
and all
yes.
that. I mean, the point of it is, if you're going to form your own small business and therefore market yourself, your title, your message via a book, promotion is the golden ticket.
Definitely.
And don't think it book's over and done and you're just going to sit back now and collect profits.
Yep.
Lisa, just in a couple of minutes, tell us what, or maybe 1 minute, what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs? I know you've had your office blow up, you've moved, you've been everything. What advice do you have for someone who's wanting to start their own business?
The advice I got from my first client, Jeannie Peterson with Behavin' Kids, was make best friends with your attorney, your accountant, and your insurance person. Make sure that you have those things in line.
Right.
Understand the math of your business. It's always, even publishing, you'd think it wouldn't be about math, but it's all about math.
No, it is, yeah, basic math too.
Yeah.
Like you want to have a bigger number at the end than you started with.
Yes. I also advise people, be realistic about things, and when you're doing the math, it's going to help guide you as far as how is it going to actually operate.
Right.
And
well, and I've said it before on the show, people often go in with much rosier expectations of revenue. You kind of know what your costs are going to be,
Yeah.
but the people say, oh, I'm going to make this much. Well, not always. I'm going to change subject real quick. Tell us about your book. Not only do you help other people get books out there, but tell us about your book and a couple of your other favorites that you're working on right now.
Yeah, so we did Meet Me at the Farmer's Market last year. In 2018, it was going to be our 900th book.
Wow.
So I decided, a little girl came up to me at the farmer's market where we are selling other people's books and we have guest authors and stuff like that. She said, well, how come you don't have your own book? I said, that's a good question.
Out of the mouths of babes,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
She's 6 years old and actually
so you
she's
self-publish
honored in
your
this
own
book,
book,
so
says Lisa Pelto right there.
Yep.
So
we wrote this and had a local illustrator do the paintings, Paula Wallace from Hot Shops. And
sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of Farmers Market, tell us about the event coming up in December.
We're doing both weekends, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 13th, 14th, and 15th. We're doing junk stocks of December. Junk stocks, Winter Wonderland out at Sycamore Farms.
And that's at
Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Way out there.
West Omaha, Waterloo.
Yeah.
Right?
And we have a bunch of guest authors. It's a completely local book collaborative.
Okay. And the dates of that again are?
6th, 7th, and 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th.
And one last time, the name of the event?
The Junk Stock Winter Wonderland.
Awesome. Lisa Pelto, a publisher, author herself, and president and founder of Concierge Marketing, not publishing and...
Concierge Publishing Services works too.
Okay, that works too. Concierge Publishing Marketing has clearly set up more small businesses than anybody I know. And if you want to get your message out there, check out Lisa's work, Lisa's books, Lisa's site. Lisa, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week on the Grow Your Biz show. In the meantime, check out growmedia.com where you can learn about getting your message out on video. Thanks again, Paul Madsen and Lisa, saying see you next week.